Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chaz Kayado, and the topic of today's discussion is going to be managing multiple online classes. So specifically the school that I will be discussing will be American College of Education, but you might find that there is some overlap between ACE and whichever university you're at if you are one of those people out there that are not going to ACE right now. Okay, but if you do plan on going to ACE in the future, then this will help you out at that point as well. So managing multiple classes, I have taken 2 or 3 classes at ACE for several terms, and so kind of understanding the way to approach handling multiple classes, I have a little experience there. So first I want to say, when I did my master's, I did not take multiple classes. So all the master's classes were just 5 weeks. And so I just took those as they came. I honestly, I don't even know. I'm assuming you can take those classes 2 at a time. And I don't think if you can do that, I don't think that would be a problem. I think it would be very, very manageable. I found that the master's courses that I took, they were really straightforward. I mean, it was pretty much just do a reading, watch some videos, and take a quiz. Okay, and yes, there were some papers in there. There were some assignments in there that you had to do, but I always felt like those were really, really straightforward. It was kind of just do X, Y, and Z, and you'll be okay. And so if you were to take multiple classes, I think that would be fine. Matter of fact, when I was taking those classes, oftentimes what I would do is as soon as the class would open up you get access to all the information for all ACE classes the Friday before that class starts, which that Monday. And so I would actually try to get as much of that done as possible. I would watch all of the videos and do most of the readings the weekend prior to get ready to take that class on Monday, and it made things really smooth sailing. But I was only taking one class at a time then, so that was really simple. Although I do think you could take multiple if they allow it. They do allow multiple classes for the doctoral program, and I took 3 classes probably 3 times, I think, and maybe 2 classes once or twice. And every single time I found it to be more than manageable. So the different strategies that I took was actually, one, I tried to front load as much of my courses as possible, so that way when I got to the actual dissertation, which I'm working on now, I wouldn't have to take multiple classes and I could focus just on the dissertation. So that's why I was taking 3 instead of just 2 and spreading it out longer. So if you want to do that, you can take 2 and spread it out longer. Although you may find that you'll be taking an extra class well into, maybe even all the way through to the end of your to the end of your dissertation, because I transferred in credits from the master's, but if you didn't take a master's at ACE, you might not be transferring any credits. So if you're taking 2 each term, you may be taking two each term all the way through. But I did transfer some in from the master's, and then tried to front load as much as possible. Now, that being said, the very first course, which was just a 5-week course, there are a few 5-week courses in the doctoral program. There's like 4, I think, but they're only one credit, and that all of the rest are going to be 10-week courses. Okay, so the very first 5-week course I took by itself, and it was fine. It was fine because I was doing other things, and it was fine. But then pretty much that next term, I started off with taking 3. And so the strategies that I took, let's go back to what I was saying before. Okay, you have access to the courses on the Friday before. Okay, so this will give you a chance to figure out which course is going to be the most intensive, And so it'll give you an idea how should you structure your weeks. Um, you know which days you're going to have the most time, and so the most intensive courses you should do on the days that you have the most time. I found that the courses that require the least amount of time, I could knock out a bunch of stuff on my off periods, and so that made it really easy. I tried to get ahead on any coursework I could. So if I had a week where one class was really simple, like there might be weeks where one class is, I mean, maybe a 30-minute assignment. Okay. Well, I'm not just going to wait till the next week for that class. I'm going to get ahead. Okay. And so try to get ahead as much as possible, and it'll free up time when you get to a bottleneck, because you might have a class where two of the same weeks, week 4, week 5, week 6, whatever, they have like sizable assignments. And so if you're ahead, you can spread that out a little bit easier than if you try to do them both in the same week, right? So getting ahead, I think, is really important. Now, I'm not saying turning things in ahead, and I know that there are some teachers out there that absolutely do not like to see you turn things in ahead of time. But the reality of the matter is you have access to all of the information. You can start working ahead. If it happens to be there's something that requires the iterative process, I mean, obviously working too far ahead may end up causing you more work in the long run, because you have to go back and change a bunch of stuff. But most of the courses were not iterative. Most of the courses where this is your week, this is your assignment for this week, and really a lot of the assignments are just prep work for the dissertation, just like breaking down little things that you can do that will help you with your dissertation writing skills down the line. Okay, so there's not a lot of iterative process in the non-dissertation courses, and so really you can just go ahead, get in there, and do as much of the assignments early as possible. There may be some courses that require you to wait, but once again, you should be able to get ahead as much as possible. So that was key. Also, going and looking ahead of time at what everything, when everything will be due, will help you arrange a schedule, so that way you're not caught off guard by any assignments. So just prior preparation will help you manage those courses. Okay, and I also found that the 1-hour courses were, for the most part, the 1-hour courses were 5 weeks long. So let's say you're taking 2 10-week courses and 1 5-week course. Well, you just got to get through that 5-week course, and then you're down to 2 classes. You're not taking 3 classes. And I believe I only remember one of those 4 5-week classes being having quite a sizable amount of work. The other ones were very straightforward, especially the very first intro. I think it's 6001. I mean, that was a very, very basic course. I mean, that was just getting you an idea of what being a doctoral student was all about. There wasn't a ton of work that needed to be turned in, so you could probably easily take that one and not have any problems. So taking that as a third course, I mean. So that's really, if you want to take multiple courses, which you're gonna actually have to. I don't know that you would be able to finish in a timely manner if you only took one class at a time. I don't even know how that would work, because they're 10-week courses, right? And so you have 64 hours that you need to have to complete the doctoral, your doctoral program. So you're going to have to take multiple. But the thing is, as long as you have those time management skills, you're going to be fine. Know ahead of time what is going to be required of you. Also, I've said this a billion times, get in a GroupMe for every class that you take, or some type of way that you can communicate with other students, because when you have an issue, you ask someone and maybe they can help you out, and you're not sitting there on your own trying to figure things out, trying to go back and forth with a teacher to get answers. It just helps you out so much time-wise to be able to talk to someone about your assignments. So time management, that's going to be key there. Getting ahead as early as possible on those Fridays. I mentioned this in the chapter 1 video. Don't One thing you don't want to do, don't go ahead and take something from a previous, like if you have someone that took the course already, and they give you all of the assignments for the previous course. I've found that that could lead to issues, because ACE does like to change things course to course, and even if it's just like one little thing, if they may change something, and you think that you've done the assignment, but you actually haven't, because module 1 for the previous class is not the same as module 1 for your class. So just be aware of that. You, by all means, I mean, I don't see any problem looking at those other assignments and getting an idea of what the course is about, but just know that if you go ahead and you do those assignments early, and then you find out the Friday when everything's released, oh my gosh, this is not the same syllabus, this is not the same assignments, that could definitely happen. So just be careful with that, because you don't want to spend double the time. And then also a time saving tip, for many of the papers that I wrote, which would really help me get through. I mean, the paper writing for me wasn't very difficult. Part of the reason was I would outline every single paper I wrote ahead of time, and it helped me visualize how much of the paper I still needed to write. And I would write 5-6 page papers in an hour and a half sometimes, because I had everything visualized. It just made it so much simpler to go in and do what I need to do, with an outline. So that's another time saving tip that I think really helps me. But you will need to take multiple classes at a time at ACE, and I at first I was very worried about that, going from just taking one class at a time in the master's course to taking 2 and 3 classes. I was very nervous, but it ended up being fine. I mean, it was more than manageable. And there were definitely weeks in there where I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I got a lot to do. But if you work on your time management skills and you get ahead, you won't have any problems at ACE taking multiple classes. I think 3 is the max that you can take, but that's fine. I got all of my stuff. I think the last class that I took, I think it coincided with the concept paper class, which is the class where you're getting your topic defined for the dissertation. So I don't think I actually took any classes along with dissertation classes. So that made it a lot easier. I could just focus just on dissertation. So anyways, if I missed anything, or if you have any questions, please comment below, and talk to you guys later.